all three of us didn't really watch too much of All-Star Weekend. Okay, how about skills comp and All-Star Game? Did anybody watch either of the two?
I watched a touch of the All Star game. Sorry, I watched a touch of the skills competitions, just the hardest shot,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
that's it. That's,
Dave?
So I'm the inverse of Brian. I watched more of the All-Star game. I think just because I was actually for like that was like our lunchtime, so it was like as a family we were watching it basically. Um, but if it wasn't for that, like if it was like normal time like they normally do it, I don't think I would have had it on, I'll be honest with you. That was another thing too. I was so surprised. They normally do it the Saturday and Sunday, but this week they decided to do it Friday for the skills comp, Saturday for the game, which honestly isn't a bad idea in theory, I guess, because then they wanted games back up by Monday. So that would be tonight. Like I think some games might have already started. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it was. You know what the thing is though? It just wasn't promoted. Like I feel like I didn't know. Like I just kind of assumed it was going to be Saturday, Sunday, and then Friday rolled around, and I saw, oh, the record. Like I saw videos of them recording for the night during the day, in Florida. So they did the I don't even know what it was called. Like they were on the beach and like shooting the surfboard, like shooting the pucks at the
Yeah.
surfboard. They were doing that during the day, I believe. So they recorded that and then they broadcasted that to everybody at night when the competition happened, right? And it was just like, is the game today? Like I was like, sorry, is the skills today? Like I had no idea. I had to go search it up, and I think
Yeah.
that's just like
it's
it
just
just compounding. It
mismanaged.
just
The
it
whole
just
thing is
compounding
mismanaged.
on, and that has been the problem that I saw for this entire All Star weekend. It was just like it was a big dud race, basically. By most people's account, it wasn't great. I don't know. Like,
Let's
have you guys seen anything different? Like, I don't know. That's all I saw was nobody really seemed to enjoy. Even the players looked like
yeah.
they kind of just mailed it in.
Question for you, Dave. Was
Yeah.
the Pro Bowl on Sunday, or do you know if the Pro Bowl was on Sunday? Is that maybe why they didn't want to overlap?
You know what? I think it was. I think the game itself was.
Yeah.
I believe the Saturday though was their version of like the skills competition though.
Okay. So
So I
there
mean,
still kind
either
of
way
was
there was going to
overlap.
be yeah, either way there was going to be overlap, but like
Yeah.
I guess to avoid going head to head with the Pro Bowl, like the actual Pro Bowl, they played the games on the Saturday instead of the Sunday. Maybe that seems like a good enough reason for them to do it. Honestly didn't even come to my mind. I watched even like bits and pieces of that. It was pretty enjoyable too. Shout out to the NFL. Even their pro like the only major North American sport I think that does it does that whole thing right is the NBA. They know how to make it a show, make it a spectacle, be entertaining for 3 hours for the skills comp and then another 2 hours for their actual game, and also make it look relatively competitive. I know like the game in the NBA, they finish like
Yeah.
165 to 163, no defense, but like I'm not trying to watch a lot of defense. I want to see like 3 points, slam dunks, and I guess we kind of got that out of the NHL's All Star game. Like there was a lot of goals, and I'll commend them for that. It looked like most of the players were trying from what I saw, but it was just like
Okay,
I don't
okay,
know.
Dave. I'll be honest with you. There's only one good All Star game in the NHL that like I remember vividly. I actually really enjoyed watching. I think
If you don't
that
say
was
it's the John Style one,
it's the John
I'm gonna
Scott
bash
one.
you over that. Okay. Okay. Okay.
That's
Cool.
the only time I've ever had any interest in the actual All Star game itself in the NHL. Um, I don't care. I'll be honest with you guys. The NHL All Star game is a dud every single year. I'd rather the players just go on a little bit of vacation, take some time off, rest up, and yeah.
Like Dave said though, the NBA game couldn't really care for. Pro Bowl, do not care for. Neither do the players. MLB, it used to mean something. They changed it, I think, this very year. It no longer decides home advantage in the World Series. So even that doesn't have much on the line. So honestly, I think I could say I don't really care for any of the four major North American All-Star games themselves, which is to say, I don't know if we can be too hard on the NHL for the All-Star game because when no one has figured out the formula. Um, in terms of, once again, the generic sports, what do I enjoy? Like Dave said, I do watch the NBA skills comps. So much fun, specifically the 3-point contest and the dunk contest. They have other ones too where it's like you got to pass the ball through the hoop, you got to go for the layup, and it's like a race. Don't really care for that one too much, but 3-point and dunk, those are spectacles. And even when you don't have the top players performing in it, whoever they do put in are either a sharpshooter at 3-pointing or they can absolutely posterize guys with their dunks and they come up with some creative stuff. So they do it right for sure. Cannot fault them there. MLB, I love watching the home run derby too. Home run derby is really cool. They can drag it out. It's not just like a 2-minute event, 5-minute event. They've got rounds. It goes to the finals. Like I love watching that. The NHL, I do love hardest shot. I think we can all agree that hardest shot is the closest thing we have to a spectacle. But Dave mentioned this before we hopped on. It's a little different when you don't have the headliner. And the headliner for many years was Dano Chara or Shea Weber. And without those guys, there hasn't really been someone to step up and take the mantle as the king, as somebody to challenge. And this is something we talked about throughout the week, or mainly after the All-Star game itself. I like the idea of opening it up to the NHL at large. If players want to be at All-Star Weekend, Martin Frk is the example. He broke the record. I think he hit 110 miles per hour, or I don't know if they measured miles per hour.
I think it was even high. I think it was higher. It might have been like one. I think because Chara's was like 111 or 112. Maybe he didn't even hit 110, but something like that. He was in that like 110 to like 115 range, 100%.
And so I remember that. Like I remember that being a little bit of news. Why can't we have Martin Frk at the game?
But,
so you know what? He's in the NHL. It's a little different, but
to caveat that was in the AHL. So that's where like it was news. But if Martin Frk was playing for I believe he was on Los Angeles at the time. If he was on the Kings and he came into the NHL All-Star game and did that, that would have been news in the NHL for a month.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, he was in the AHL, so instead of a month worth of talk, we had like 2 days, I think. So
yeah,
I was just thinking, like, how can we fix this? What's our solution to improve on the NHL All-Star game? Instead of All-Star skills competitions, I think you're right on. I think you're onto something with having like multiple like entrants per team, but we live in an era, social media, digital age. Why don't we let each team do their own skills competition, right? And then if you win your own team skill competition, you get invited to participate in the league skill competition. Meanwhile, the vote's just for the game. So you can have a Martin Frk. You can have a Carl Hagelin for fastest skater. You can have a, XYZ, whoever wins their actual team competition. And then you can make it all on social media with TikToks or like YouTube Shorts or whatever.
I have always liked that idea.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
And listen, there are teams that already do hold their own skills comp. I'm pretty sure the Oilers are one. I think Columbus was another. There used to always be talk about like when you'd ask NHL players like who's the fastest skater outside of McDavid. For a long time, the most popular answer was Seth Jones, and it was like, what? Where the hell is this coming from? Yeah, no, I know, but it was because Columbus would hold a skills comp and he would win it. I brought up like Ilya Mikheyev, right? And nobody forgets the clip nobody forgets that clip. Come on.
No. He is faster than Connor McDavid. It is quite literally proven in stone.
Yeah, but listen.
It'd be a different story. It'd be a different story if they were comparing top speeds, but like they were comparing, like they were in a race against each other. Like one-on-one foot battle. Ilya Mikheyev, fastest skater in the league. Maybe not anymore because he just suffered an ACL injury that has him shelved for the rest of the year. So, wishing him speedy recovery. Vancouver.
No.
We're not bringing up any anything of that team, but like shout out
No.
to Eli Mikheyev wherever he is right now.
Shout out to Ilya. I think for me, if I just had to sum up what I want out of the All Star game, it's the opportunity for players that actually care about it to show up. Because
So
I think it can be entertaining, even if the All Stars aren't the ones who are doing some of the All Star events. If they're gonna
yeah.
half-ass it, sit on the bench, watch, because here comes Joe Schmo, who's been waiting for this moment all season and is gonna dazzle the NHL with his 109-mile-per-hour clapper. Okay?
So
To me, that's all you need is effort.
that in particular, Christian, brings up a very good point. That is what the NBA does, and that's why we get such high quality. I don't know what they call. I'm gonna call it a skills comp. It's the same
Yeah,
thing, like in both
yeah.
sports. They're the skills comp, right? If you remember, I was watching this live, 2016, Toronto. Little side note, Toronto's also getting the next NHL All-Star game. So, fingers crossed, maybe coming to this city will have an effect on the All-Star game. I don't know, but we'll see. So 2016 in Toronto, the stars of the NBA were out in full force. Kevin Durant on the Oklahoma City Thunder just before they were about to blow a 3-1 lead in the conference finals. LeBron before he was about to whoop the Raptors once again in the playoffs. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, all of them were there. Star-studded night. But besides that, they also had guys like Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine in particular for the dunk contest. And they single-handedly put on one of the best NBA dunk contests like of all time. Like
That was
the
so good,
Aaron
man.
the Aaron Gordon dunk when his mascot was on, I believe it was like was the
Something
Segway.
spinning, right?
It was like
Yeah.
that scooter thing that all the TikTok the Vine influencers had. That's a deep cut for everybody. And he was like spinning, and then Aaron Gordon jumped at least, I think it was like 7.7 feet for sure. Grabbed the ball midair, took a seat on top of the mascot, put the ball underneath him, and dunked it, and didn't win the competition. Like the stories about that competition still rage on, and like the debate rages on to this day, saying like a lot of people think that Aaron Gordon should have won that competition, but like the NHL doesn't have that. They don't have guys coming in for specialized events. So I think that's kind of where the NHL misses the mark. And I know, you know, the NHL hardest shot in particular, that's the only one that I knew going in. So Elias Pettersson ended up winning that. And you see somebody like Ovi there, and it's like, oh, okay, like, Ovi's there, his patented or his patented one timer is like, you know, it's got something on it. I mean, he scored over 800 goals. So you would have him as the odds-on favorite, but you know what? Elias Pettersson came in and won the competition. So I don't know. I'm at a crossroads because they definitely have the star quality, and maybe what you're saying, Brian, holds something. Maybe it's something that they can explore in the future, where all 32 teams kind of gather their gather their players and see who is the best in which category, and then they'll go forward. Basically, maybe that is
Think of the
the way
market.
that they.
You could build good personalities. You know,
Oh, 100%.
you can build like I watched the Jason Robertson interview today. The first time I ever watched this guy speak, and I'm a fan because he's so relatable, such a interesting figure.
Very genuine guy.
Yes,
Really genuine.
but could you
Yeah.
imagine you have all like your favorite team? They're all benchmarking together, like they're all talking trash to one another, like who has the hardest shot, this and that, and then at the end you win it. You win the right to represent your team at the hardest shot competition and from 32 other teams. That's interesting to me because then you get the best of the best, not just the best of the ones selected per se.